Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this broadcast today. I'm going to be talking about type 2 diabetes as well as stomach cancer. So on this platform, I've been sharing content with you all about stomach cancer and diabetes and showing researches and whatnot. I did not do a webinar last week. I did one the week before, and I've been showing a lot of videos and content to share with you a lot about these different diseases out here. And I do have family history of people who has type 2 diabetes, and I had history of someone who has stomach cancer in my family. I want to share this story with you all to inspire you to make sure you take care of your health, everybody. So in the first part of this segment, we're going to talk about type 2 diabetes. So I start off with my dad. Back in 2016, he started noting changes in his vision, and he knew something wasn't quite right with that. He started seeing like floaters, and it was like really cloudy, and he really couldn't see at a certain distance. And things start to really just spiral out of control to the point that his glucose was extremely high. And he ended up going to the ER and find out what was going on. They had to check his glucose, said it was high. Said, Mr. Such and such, there's something going on. We want to keep you for evaluation. So they kept him for a few hours. He went home, came back, and came to find out he was a diabetic. And they did a lot of blood work and determined that. At first, it was like the most scariest thing to see your parent go through that, and to see that them struggling with that. Keep in mind, my granddaddy, he had health issues as well. So there's a history of diabetes in my family, unfortunately. And to know that someone you care about ends up with that, it makes you look at your health a lot differently. And for my dad to go through what he went through, so he had to change the way he ate. He had to pick and choose what was good for him and what was not good for him. It was a pick and go type of situation for months on end. And over time, he got so used to checking his glucose, taking his medication, going to the doctor. He went through courses and training for the doctor's office. They had training for those who are in the VA, who was a military vet. They had they had diabetic, like dietitian there was teaching them the do's and don'ts, and he went through the class and some other guys that just like test yourself, learn what to eat, what not to eat. They had a book and things to show you how to maneuver and check your glucose and make sure you're not under and over and certain things you shouldn't stick in your mouth. And then after a year's time, he started to learn how to have a routine of learning how to check his glucose, learning how to eat properly, learning what triggered his highs and his lows, knowing what he needs to do to maneuver his diabetes. He has to get shots in his eyes. He has to take gabapentin because of neuropathy. And I'm sharing this story to inspire you that this stuff really matters. This stuff is very important. And he goes through this all the time. And now at 5 years later, or actually 6 years later, he managing it better and he coping with it better. But in the beginning, it's scary because you don't know how to handle it. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to make this really good for you. But once you get through the bad, rough patches of it, it becomes a daily routine. And that became a daily routine with my dad and that. And, he still gets his shots in his eyes. Everybody, ooh, yeah, yeah. That's the part of diabetes that goes to your eyes, your limbs, neuropathy. If things start to not function right, this is why they always tell you to wear white socks, because you may not feel your skin get cut. And you can see wearing white socks, you can see the blood coming out of your socks. That's why they tell you to wear white socks, tell you to be careful, because when you get burned and get cut, it takes forever for you to heal properly. There's just so much that diabetes can teach you, and it can really freak you out, but at the same time, it can help your own self change the way you eat and change the way your metabolism is. And that really changed me to the core. And then an eye opener happened again a year later. My oldest daughter ended up with type 2 diabetes. And with her glucose was skyrocketing. Hers took place the year after, where she ended up eating a good meal for Christmas, and all of a sudden she went under. She kept throwing up. She couldn't keep nothing down. Everything she kept drinking. She kept throwing up, getting Gatorade, water. Took her to the doctor one time. I thought it was a stomach virus. No, I said it was a stomach virus. No, she kept getting worse and worse. And then we ended up taking her back to the doctor. And then at that point, the doctor said, "Oh, her glucose is out of this world, and her ketose had too much sugar in it." They said, and she's lethargic, so she couldn't walk on her own. So basically, they had to call the ambulance to rush her to St. Mary Hospital, where she stayed there for a week or so until she figured out what was going on with her. She went through a lot of weight loss, and she was 12 years old at the time when that happened. And she went through a lot of weight loss. She was in the intensive care unit when they first put her in. Then they moved from the intensive care room into the children area, where she was able to get all the support and love and understanding. And the whole time she ended up getting nice gifts and things while she was in the hospital and everything to kind of make her feel good and feel comfortable while she was in the children's hospital for a while. So they taught her a lot about carb counting, because at the time they didn't know that she had type 1 or type 2 diabetes. So they was teaching her how to count carbs, teaching her about insulin, teaching her about short-term, long-term, telling her how to measure the needle. Her and her dad, and I was in and out, back and forth, because I had two youngest ones I had to be home with too. So my husband spent most of the time there at the hospital with my oldest, so he got more understanding about how to do the carb counting and the insulin treatments and how much dosage that she needed and what she could eat and what she couldn't eat. And it was hard, and it was definitely triggering, because you just didn't know what caused all of this to happen. I can tell you this: poor eating has a bad habit of sneaking up on you. Drinking stuff, eating stuff that's not good for you, it has a bad habit of sneaking up on you. And that's what she faced. And she went through that for some time, ended with a nice doctor and oncologist lady who came to the hospital and saw her and talked to her and got to know her. She knew this doctor now for about 4 or 5 years, and unfortunately the doctor that she had, she's no longer with the practice and moved on to something better and different, unfortunately. But she was there for my daughter for a whole entire of her middle school years. And keep in mind, her period just started, so she got that going on, plus diabetes. So she was having a rough time in the first year of it. And over time, once they start figuring out what type of diabetes she had, it came to the conclusion she had type 2 and not type 1. Type 1, that means your pancreas is not producing any insulin at all, where you have to have continual insulin in your body. And type 2 is doing it, but it's not consistent. So you have to have to take insulin or a metformin pill, whatever diabetic pill to kind of initiate it to get it to do right. And once she finally stopped taking all the insulin and going into the pill form, she had to take the pill form. Well, the insulin she had to take short term, and long term she had to do like 6 shots a day. Yeah, that was stressful enough. And then once the doctor said she was doing better, then she ended up had to cut around and give her a pill form where she had to take pills twice a day, morning and at nighttime. And of course, she had to check her glucose and make sure it was okay, as well as her ketose, means if there's any sugar in your urine. It has a strip like this, and the strip is they sell it inside of Walgreens and CVS stores. They sell like the store brand or the brand of it, and you buy that container. And when you buy it, you have that. And if you're not well or something going on, make sure you check your urine and make sure you don't have no ketose in. That means that sugar can get in your bladder, and it can cause you to backslide a lot. That's why you end up back in the hospital again. That's why they encourage you to check your glucose, check your urine, make sure there's no sugar in it. This is why they offer blood work to make sure that your A1C number should be at least about 5 point what 5.1, 5.5 or something like that, or 5.3 in that range. But if it's like a 7, 8, 9, 10, that's a huge issue because it's not normal. Your pancreas is not producing the right insulin, so it's gonna cause you to have tiredness, lethargic, all these emotions going on inside of you. Become angry. And if you have a low, make sure you drink orange juice or candy bar. If you have a high, make sure you eat some fruits and vegetables, something that'll lower your sugar, and go back in about an hour and retest your blood sugar, make sure it's at a normal state. The average for a child, they said you should have it at 125. That's what the doctor said, but every doctor says something different. And for an adult, I think it's like about 150, 125, 150. But as long as it's not high, and it's not way low, the low is like 60. And if beyond that 60 and 40 and 50 and 30, that's a real red flag. You better get to emergency immediately. Or if you know how to do it, like I said, candy bar, orange juice will bring your blood sugar back up. Drink your Coca-Cola or a Sprite. That'll bring your blood sugar back up. And if your blood sugar is too high, get you some fruits and something that's low in carbs to bring that blood sugar at a regular. And like I said, check it again in an hour, just as well as you check the low, the same as the high, and make sure that they're at their normal range like they're supposed to be. If you find yourself more sleepy than normal, check your glucose. If you find yourself over hyper, check your glucose and your blood pressure too, to make sure those things, the levels are normal. So that's what I've experienced in my life with my dad and my daughter. And type 2 diabetes, you have to take that very seriously. You have to be on a diet. Sometimes you may mess up and eat every now and then something you're supposed to because you get hungry. But you have to make sure you maintain that diet, and make sure you keep a track of your A1C and your glucose and your urine, because you don't want to end up back in the hospital and you got to start this process all over again, because diabetes is no joke. Pre-diabetes is the first warning before enter into full-blown diabetes. So if you have been diagnosed with pre-diabetes, I encourage you to stop what you're doing now. I know most of you have a sweet tooth and things. I'm telling you, fruits, vegetables, it'll be your friend. If you mess around and eat a cookie now and then, just be careful. Don't indulge in something that'll take you back to that place. Okay? All right, everybody. Stomach cancer. So most of you have seen content about stomach cancer. And from the background history of that, because I'm going back in a time when I was a child, and I have a very, very good memory on that matter. So my grandmother, may she continue to rest in peace, she had stomach cancer one time, and it went into readmission for what I was told when she was in her younger years. And then it came back when she was in about her 60s. And I really didn't get the full understanding what stomach cancer was until I saw it as a child of what that really was. It was tumors inside her stomach, and they were growing, and she couldn't swallow, couldn't keep them down. She was miserable, and it was very overwhelming. to watch that at the age I was at as a young child in the first or second grade, to watch your grandmother become this healthy, vibrant woman and end up deteriorating in months' time. She went through surgery. She went through chemo treatments. She had tubes in her stomach, feeding tubes, because she wasn't able to eat on her own. She lost a significant amount of weight. Her hair came out. I'm sorry I'm being graphic, but I want to let you know this is all the process of stomach cancer. And the feeding tubes will help her feeding, where they brought her food and it was feeding in a bag. And it was just so overwhelming to see someone you seen so strong go through that pain, and it's just so horrible to see. But as I can go back as a child and remember, this is very painful for me to talk about, but it's been 30 plus years ago, but I feel a little bit more comfortable sharing with that. She went through a lot in that time frame. She ended up staying with us for a while, and then she ended up wanting to go back home. And then that's when they had a nurse that came by and took care of her and took care of her and was very supportive. And then she became a good friend of the family. But we knew that we only had such time left with her. And my grandma was a woman of God. Yes, she was in the usher board at church, and she prayed and read the Bible and stayed consistent in the Word of God. Her gospel music, you name it, feisty. It's all get up. That's why everybody who see me and the family say, or my daddy always say, "Hey, little May Frank," because I look just like her. I really do. And to see someone that you've known half your life just deteriorate like that hurts. I remember one time she wanted some ice cream. We had to go to Dairy Queen and go get her some strawberry ice cream. That's the Dairy Queen that's for the smooth. Things we did to just make her happy, and people who came by and visit her and make sure she was good. She had a heart of gold. Tough cookie, but a heart of gold. And she meant well with her intentions. And she loved. And she cared. And she had a beautiful soul. Stomach cancer is real. And if you have a history of that in your family, I recommend you go get checked out. And for me, I had to really do that for my own self, with my own life, not knowing years down the line, my mom's going to end up catching cancer. And I mean, never in a gazillion years would I have thought. I knew dementia and Alzheimer's and heart disease and kidney disease, it was in my family, but cancer, that really made me check out of myself and figure out what I need to do with my own health in terms of, hey, I need to get myself together. Most of you have seen I lost a significant amount of weight. Death and losing a loved one will make you think about your own mortality, and makes you think about what you should do with your own self and how you should get yourself right too. And that really freaked me out. But I wanted to share with you all today about the history of stomach cancer and how people go through this. She went through treatment, she went through doctors, she went through all this, nurses, you name it. And then what's so bad about it, her neighbor next door ended up with stomach cancer. So I'm like, what's in the water over here? And it made me wonder, and she didn't even know the lady next door was sick either until she started wanting to drink some of the stuff that my grandma was drinking. And most of you may know the energy drink, Ensure drink. I don't like that drink. Why is that? I'm going to tell you why. Because anytime I see anybody drink that, that's not always a good sign from my perspective, because that shows there's something going on with your immune system that's not good. And every time I see somebody drink Assure, that means their health is deteriorating. And that's all I see every time I see that they drink Assure. That means their health is deteriorating. They're not doing the greatest. They're not doing good at all. And every time I see somebody drink it, I know they're sick and I know they're about to pass away. I'm sorry, but that's just how that looks in my life when I see that Assure drink. It's just like, oh no, not again. It's me, not again. Ugh. It's like a slap in the face. It really is. So I recommend everybody, as I shared a little bit of this story, because I could have went on for a whole hour, but I paraphrased everything to just give you the important key points about type 2 diabetes and stomach cancer and how to make sure you check on stuff that don't seem right. If your body doesn't feel right, everybody, and something going on with your stomach, if your stool's a different color, or you're not eating right, or you're not swallowing, go get those things checked out because that can be something really serious. And you don't want to be all, I don't want to know. You will save yourself a lot of heartache. I know a lot of us may not like going to the doctors or nurses and whatnot because of various reasons, but I completely understand. But if you want to preserve your life, you got to do what you have to do to make sure you live a little longer and enjoy the rest of this time while you have on this earth. Certain things are very scary and certain things are very triggering, but I encourage you that go out and do it. I went out and got a lot of stuff taken care of, and I got some other stuff I got to get taken care of. It is what it is. There's no going around the river, the bend, whatever you want to call it. It is what it is, everybody. I encourage you to, if you know something going on with your body, go get checked out. That goes with type 2 diabetes as well as stomach cancer. Some people overwork themselves and say, oh, I'm fine, take a pill. Let me tell you some about pain pills before I log off. You can become very consumed with that. And you know they always tell you don't take too many pills like aspirin because they'll bleed in your stomach. I'm not trying to freak you out, but tablets and pills, they suppresses things. But if it's not really good for your body, then you should find other recommendations or other remedies to use. Some people use home remedies or natural remedies to get themselves healed and fixed back up in the right way. Fruit and vegetables is your friend. It really is. But I like to indulge. But if you think about the history of your families, and if you haven't, take time today or sometime this week and just think about it. Like, what do I need to do to change my diet? What I need to do to change my behavior? What do I need to do to fix myself? After I explain very graphically about what I've experienced in my own life with my family and their history of illnesses, I take my health very seriously, everybody, because I have to. I want to live another 20, 30 years, even 40, maybe even longer. I don't want to sit here and sit out woulda, shoulda, coulda when I had the opportunity to go and do it. A lot of times we put things off because we are afraid. A lot of times we put things off because of pride. A lot of times we put things off because we don't want to pass away before it's too soon. If you are able to get the help, or if you are able to get the support, are you able to find resources and people to help you get through these things? Take every support that you need in terms of type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, pre-diabetes, as well as stomach cancer. There's resources and information out there, everybody, for you all to get help. That goes for children as well as adults. Okay, I'll be back on next Wednesday about 11 a.m. to wrap up this segment about type 1 and type 2. I'm going to talk about type 1 and type 2 as well as stomach cancer and give you some links and support groups that you can be affiliated with to kind of get that extra information and things that can help you get that, because this has been Stomach Cancer Awareness Month as well as Diabetes Awareness Month. The awareness is here to give you information, to give you resources, to give you understanding, to give you a sound of mind to know that these things happen. Life happens, things happen, and your health really matters. So I encourage you all today to just listen to what Minister Johnson is saying today and take note that this is only for your good. You're going to be like, dang, Minister Johnson, thank you for your insight and your story about the things you dealt with you and your family. And you ask, how do you stand? Because of God. I'm still here. I'm still breathing. I'm still alive. To God be the glory, okay? So I love you guys. I'm getting ready to log off this live and get ready to come on at 12 p.m. for the grief relief. So I'll see you all in a few. I love you guys. Be safe.